Console rumors and hoaxes have been around for as long as video game consoles have. After all, seeing what we have in the present and being blown away at that makes our minds wonder with amazement on what we could have in the future. So much so that rumors and hoaxes for future console releases are abundant. The leaps from console generation to generation are big, more so decades ago than they are now, but still, mix that with Fruitigo Aero, ecofuturism, Hexatron, and Y2K aesthetics, and you have a very exciting future to look forward to in the video game industry and wider tech industry. With that being said, I wanted to show you all this incredible game console rumor / hoax iceberg chart created by TransQueen421. This was posted to r/iceberg charts on Reddit, and we'll be going through every entry from top to bottom in usual iceberg chart fashion. Things will get real obscure real quick, and you'll find that there's a lot more to these entries. I'll also be grouping the layers into pairs so the video flows better. I'll have the creator of the iceberg chart and the chart itself linked in the description along with other relevant links. And without further ado, let's dive into the game console rumor / hoax iceberg chart. If we're going to start anywhere, I think we have to start here at future gen consoles Wii 2, PS4, Xbox 720 by Videogame AF because it covers a wide range of entries all in one convenient video. I also think that this video was a big starting point for a lot of people into the world of console rumors and hoaxes. Yeah, they did appear in magazines and online forums, but they weren't covered like this in an easily accessible video format, and they all had a very specific futuristic and glossy look to them. In terms of consoles, we're shown a whole bunch of them that Videogame AF found online. They're images of what people believe the future held. Obviously, it's not everything everyone created, but it's a great starting point. So we can also include the fake images entry here as well, since this video is full of them. And if you were on YouTube 17 years ago when this video was uploaded, you'll feel a wave of nostalgia hit you. We have low quality images cutting from one to another, Windows Movie Maker transitions and text on screen, a please subscribe screen at the end of the video, all while Bodies by Drowning Pool blares. You know, that feel and that song, ooh, let the bodies hit the floor. And that's all I can give on the song because I can't play it due to copyright reasons, but if you know anything about videos back in the early days of YouTube, certain songs, including this one, felt like they were on a rotation of sorts and appeared everywhere. It's so beautiful, and we'll revisit this video and the Videogame AF channel later on in the video, so enough gushing about that. Before we take a look at the most recognizable console rumor / hoax from this video, the Xbox 720, let's take a look at the Nintendo side of things. Here, we see the Wii Phone, Nintendo DS closed and open, Nintendo On, Game Boy Omega, and GameCube Portable. All of these are on the iceberg chart, so let's go through them. The Wii Phone. It's a fan-made console concept that combines the utilities of a phone and the Wii into one. We can also see Super Mario World being played on the phone's display screen. My only question is, does that imply the Wii's virtual console is on the Wii Phone? Can the phone be used as a Wiimote since we can see the lights that dictate players 1 to 4? After all, how could you play something that requires a lot of motion controls or nunchuck support like Wii Sports on it? Where are the letters that are usually on the phone's number buttons? There's a lot to wonder about, and that's the magic of these rumors and hoaxes. They're just so exciting. I really wish Nintendo did dabble into the idea of a Nintendo phone too. Just like with this entry, you'll probably feel a wonder of what could have been with the other entries too. But funnily enough, an Android app called Revo Launcher can make your phone's home screen look and sound like the Wii. The Wii has such a nice and cozy feel to it, so it's no wonder that people would want to do this on their phones. The Nintendo DS open/closed seems to just be a concept for a different style of opening and closing the handheld console. As you all know, the DS's top screen flips up and down to open and to close it, to put it in and out of sleep mode. While the design here looks interesting, it does seem a bit flimsy on the top screen as it looks very thin and looks to slide up and out of the console to use it. If it was ever released, I could imagine myself breaking it on day one. The compact design where it's closed is neat too, but I don't know how I feel about the button hanging out like that. Regardless, it's all very interesting, and there seems to be a Naruto game being played on it. Do you know which one? If so, comment it down below. Next up is the Nintendo On. This one has a little bit of history. Originating during the development of the Wii, codenamed Revolution, created by Pablo Belmonte, a Spanish video game designer. In his video, a small history of Nintendo consoles and video games are shown before the reveal of the Nintendo On as Nintendo's next big console. It's designed to be a virtual reality headset that has various looks to it, and the video features future games from the Super Mario and Metroid series for the console. The idea of being Samus looks pretty cool, but then what's with this messed up looking Mario? He's so lanky and he just looks like a freak. Look at him. That's a face only a mother could love. There also would have been a Metal Gear Solid and WarioWare game showcase, but they didn't make the final cut of the video. This is because Pablo's hard drive had crashed during the video's production and he lost that part of the video. I mean, we can see that when the video ends abruptly. I guess that would have added to the mystery of this console at that time too. I really love the idea for the headset as well. It looks so creative and was created during a time where virtual reality was exciting and not some overly expensive, boring, and corporate product. Oh yeah, and here's this image of Shigeru Miyamoto of Nintendo wearing the Nintendo On. I'm pretty sure this is fake. Pretty sure. I'll have an upload of Pablo's video linked in the description too if you want to check that out. From here, I'll be skipping over the Game Boy Omega since it appears in a lower layer. So let's look at the GameCube Portable. So the design of the portable handheld console is similar to something like the Game Boy Color, but obviously it has GameCube hardware in it and takes GameCube CDs. Funnily enough, there is now actually a portable GameCube that you can buy off of AliExpress for quite a high price. The handheld uses an actual Nintendo Wii motherboard, so it's not an emulator, but it does need ISO files stored on a micro SD to play games, and it can play both Wii and GameCube games. This product genuinely looks quite impressive, and if you've ever wanted original hardware, even if it's been mutilated and shaped into something else, this might be the product for you. You'll just have to get past that steep asking price. And I'll have a Reddit post by the user OverallSoil755 about it linked in the description if you want to look further into it. Next from the future gen video are the Microsoft consoles, the Xbox 720, its controller which is cool but isn't an entry on the iceberg chart, and the Xbox 360 portable. The Xbox 720 is, like I've said before, the most recognizable of these console rumors and hoaxes. After all, the naming convention just makes sense going from the Xbox 360. Anyways, there's a lot of fake mock-ups made by people on what the console could have looked like. The controllers varied in how they looked, but the big contender here is the 343 Guilty Spark looking console. Interestingly, this image appeared on the internet before the Xbox 360 was even released, so why is it associated with the rumored 720? Well, the image used in the future gen video isn't a very high quality one, but we can see something faint underneath the Xbox text. Thanks to the Internet Archive, we can view the original image, and as we can see, it was a concept for the Xbox 360. It was modeled by Rune Larsen from Norway and posted to cgtalk.com, the creative computer graphics forum. I guess since the image was shared around so much, the quality deteriorated and the 360 part of the logo was unreadable to video game AF. And since this video came out after the release of the 360, he would have thought it was a concept for the 720. I love the design of this thing so much, and I'll have an excellent video by Jaden Salads called Who Made the Xbox 720 linked in the description if you want to look further into this rabbit hole that was this image. The Xbox Portable. This hoax console actually looks pretty damn cool. I'm not really sure what the game is on the screen, but It looks to be a Battlefield game of sorts, and an audio media player screen can be seen on the bottom screen? Part of the console? I'm not really sure what to make of it, but it's there along with the buttons found on the 360's controller. Ironically, just like with the GameCube Portable, people have actually made their own portable 360s. There's actually a pretty cool one on BitBuilt created and posted by Benji, which I'll have linked in the description if you want to see more images of it. It's quite impressive. On the PlayStation side of the future gen video, we have the PS4 and PSP 2. The PS4 was a rumored console following a naming convention that makes sense. I'm looking at you, Xbox. We had the PS1, 2, 3, and now a 4 should follow. And the concepts for these look nuts. On the future gen video, we have a fairly normal looking console, and then we have something that looks like a Wi-Fi modem, some crazy weird futuristic stuff, and then something simple. This takes me back to a time where a glossy, transparent, translucent future, whatever you want to call it, was in reach. And unlike with Xbox, PlayStation did in fact name their console the PS4. Which brings us to the PSP 2. Unlike the PS4, it's only shown in the future gen video very briefly at the end. Whatever's on the PSP screen is hard to make out, but the PSP design is quite simple and almost looks like an Xbox 360 controller. Just like with a lot of what's already shown, you can find other concepts online too. After all, there are more than just what's shown in the future gen video. But back on topic, as we all know, the successor to the PSP was the PSP Vita. Regardless, I still like this concept. Going back to the start of the future gen video, we have Apple products which I didn't mention. That's because there was only one console out of everything shown in that section, and that's the iBox. This is probably one of my favorite hoax consoles purely by design. It mimics the iMacs of old and their translucent and colorful plastic. I love this kind of design for tech so much, and the iBox looks great. It really makes you wonder what could have been on a console like this. Maybe the games we got during the early days of the iPod Touch and iPhone would have been on this console too? I'll talk more about Apple's gaming console ventures in a later layer. And in case you are wondering, the other rumored devices shown in the Apple section of the future gen video were the iPhone 2 and the new iPod. Wow. But for now, we're going to pivot back to Nintendo with the Wii 2. While a Wii 2 was never released, people were anticipating the release of a successor to the Wii, and naturally a Wii 2 would be the answer there. Even though that was a temporary name used online, Project Cafe was the name that the Wii U had while it was in development. And in case you didn't know, the Wii U was the successor to the Wii. Before there was concrete evidence as to what Project Cafe would offer, imaginations went wild. I think handheld and virtual reality were the big designs in the rumor sphere. But once information on the console was brought to light, we would see that the Wii 2, which was the Wii U, was a console with a touchscreen controller/tablet. It could also support an HD 1080p display now. Wow. That doesn't sound all that impressive in this day and age, but back then for Nintendo, that was big coming off of their Wii and DS consoles. For reference, the Wii outputs 480p for NTSC consoles and a weird 576p for PAL consoles. And the DS's? Well, they're small touchscreen displays, so what do you expect? And then the Wii U came out to mediocre acclaim. The poor Wii U. And you know what? I feel like the development name, Project Cafe, was in reference to the Mi Plaza, right? Or at least it could have been. Surely there was meant to be a little more to that plaza than what we got. Maybe some more functions that could have really allowed us all to just hang out there. It was already a little social, but maybe there was plans to make it truly social. Moving on, we have the Nintendo XDS. On June 15th, 2015, a YouTube account by the name of Pac McClane posted a video called Nintendo XDS E3 2015. In this video, a Nintendo trailer announces a new Nintendo XDS. This handheld console would combine the capabilities and compatibilities of the Wii U and the 3DS. The product was advertised to be able to be used with 2 screens for 3DS games, 1 screen for the Wii U games, and backwards compatibility for over 30 years of Nintendo games. Not only that, but it could be used to display the top screen of a 3DS on a TV, and have the second screen on the console itself. This incredible piece of technology was slated to release in 2016, and yeah, it was an elaborate hoax. What a shame, because this could have been a great console, but kudos to Pac McClane for creating this hoax. It's pretty damn good, and it seems like his expertise or passion lies in this kind of showcasing and advertising. I'll have the video linked in the description if you want to look into it more. And that brings us to the final entry of this layer, the insider info / leakers and forums entries. I've combined these all together because basically these highlight that insider information gets leaked by leakers onto forum sites. And of course, other forms of physical and online communicative media. And it's been happening for a while now. I mean, even recently the PS5 Pro was leaked. Great, so now I can have a sleeker, slimmer, and more powerful PlayStation 5 for the 0 games I own on it. Jokes aside, I wonder if it'll be out before this video is. And these leakers have inspired countless people to create their own rumors, hoaxes, and concepts for consoles, and even video games. Games are their own rabbit hole regarding rumors and hoaxes. Trust me. In terms of these consoles, we've already seen so much of it in this video already, and we're going to be seeing even more of them in the next layer and the rest of the video. Let's start off the body with console predictions. With how consoles are named and how established and concrete the video game industry has become, we know the big players and we know that we're going to get consoles from them with each generation. Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony are those big players. But we do have our eyes and ears open for any other consoles from big tech companies like Amazon, Apple, and other third-party companies. After all, they do dabble into video games. What's concrete is pretty bleak at the moment, but we can safely predict that Nintendo will continue making consoles, having recently released the mediocre and user-unfriendly Switch 2. Microsoft and Sony will probably continue with their consoles too, and let's see if Sony will name the next PlayStation the PlayStation 6. Other than that, Steam has jumped into the console market as well, so who knows what the future holds. Codenames. Codenames are the names for rumored consoles or consoles that are in development but don't have an official name yet. These are given to the consoles by the developers of them and usually have something to do with a key theming or feature of them or some sort of hardware inside of them. I sort of talked about them as development names in the previous layer too, referring to them as a temporary name or that development name, despite calling the Wii's development name Revolution a codename. Anyway, sometimes these codenames seem cooler than the final names, like with the Wii. The name is great, it sounds sleek, relaxing, and a bit alien. It really makes you wonder what could be on this console. But Revolution, now that's a cool name. And sometimes fan-made names are used more than the codename. For example, the Xbox 720 over its codename Durango. What a strange name, right? Maybe it was the rumored light blue color the console could have had that sold the name better too. But then again, that was all fan speculation. With that being said, let's take a look at the City Boy. This was the very cool codename for the Nintendo DS, and the name was not only an implied continuation of the Game Boy's legacy, but it reflected the DS's design to be used in public like in a bustling city, making it a very portable device that could be used with ease on the go. And that design philosophy may very well have been inspired by the Game Boy Color and foldable phones due to how easy they were to take out of your pocket or bag, unfold them, and use them anywhere you go. Let's continue with the Nintendo related products and look at Game Boy Omega. This product concept, created by Majid Al-Madi in 2006, was a handheld device with its biggest feature being the swappable controllers on the right side of it. This is all also noted to be free for Nintendo to use in their future products with no compensation needed. These controllers would be made for different game genres, and the console's games look to be designed to be fairly cheap to download. I don't know about you, but I think the design is fairly stock standard. However, a lot of the controller attachments seem useful, but I can see them being an issue for gatekeeping or being a roadblock to playing a specific game or genre. Majid has a website that hasn't been updated in a while too, but if you want to check it all out, I'll have that linked in the description. Nintendo Nexus. In terms of console rumors and hoaxes, there's a Fantendo and Game Ideas wiki article on this fake console. The Fantendo page describes it in a way similar to how the Wii U functions. We have a screen displayed on a TV and a screen on the tablet that can be used if you're not on a TV or with a TV. So it's portable and has, quote, the graphics are similar to Wii U, but they are more advanced in HD qualities. This article was clearly written by a child, but a passionate one at that. There are apps listed for the system on the page too, and it's noted that it can play Wii and Wii U games. You can also find fan-made images of the console's logos, UI, and games, which are pretty cool and edgy as hell. The Game Idea wiki Nintendo Nexus, however, is a lot more bare bones. The console is stated to have been released on September 19th, 2025 and takes CD-ROMs, cartridges, has a lot of backwards compatibility, a party feature mimicking something like TeamSpeak, Skype, or Discord, achievements, and some games for it. My favorite part is this image of it being used. Holy moly. Guys, I think I've just seen a depiction of God. Nintendo Fusion. This console and its codename was the rumored concept for the successor to the Wii U, and it was thought to combine the ideas from the 3DS and Wii U into one dual handheld and home console. At least to my understanding, since the Nintendo Life article that really gets into it leads to an archive page and the article doesn't seem to be on it. If you knew anything about Nintendo's next console release at that time, the Nintendo Switch, then you knew that that was pretty much the case. It really was a dual handheld and home console. I guess you could argue that the Wii U was the start of that shift, but anyway. I miss having a proper handheld console and games specifically made for that dual screen of the DS. It was such a cool idea and there was so much fun to be had. The games had so much charm and magic. And the system had so many incredible games on it, at least in my and many other people's opinion. And to this day, I still play my 3DS. I really wish I could use my DS Lite, but it doesn't recognize DS or Game Boy cartridges anymore. And with such a backlog of games I never finished, want to play again, or only emulated on my computer that I want to buy and play, I'm having a blast. They're just so much fun. But back on the topic of rumors and hoaxes. Someone who goes by HustleSavage on YouTube uploaded 3D modeled concepts for the Nintendo Fusion, which I'll play for you now. Surreal is really the only word I can use to describe these videos, fusion testing and settings final. They give off such an eerie feeling too, mimicking the alien and unsettling feel the GameCube, PS1 and 2 and OG Xbox had. I absolutely love it, and I feel like that eerie feeling is amplified by the blank white background of the Fusion and the unsoundly ambience of it. And why is there so much nothing after the system is shut down? It's like 30 seconds long in each video. These are really good and intriguing, and I'll have them linked in the description along with HustleSavage's channel too, because that channel is, well, it's interesting to say the least. Let me know if you find more of HustleSavage's Fusion videos too, since I only have 2 here and they're unlisted, so maybe there's more? Moving on from Nintendo, we have Sega Spectrum. On the 1st of August 2013, a Facebook page by the name of Brian's Computers and Games Green Dragon page made a giant post. On it, he described so much information about Sega's new Ultrabook console called the Sega Spectrum. And when I said this post was massive, I meant it. And if you want to have a look at it, I'll have it linked in the description, but I'll have it on screen here, and I'll give a TLDR. Brian claims to have insider information on this console. He says that Sega has been wanting to get back into making hardware since 2003. He claims that they had a plan for a 7th gen console but it never released, a cloud streaming console that never did, and then they settled on this Spectrum, a hybrid tablet laptop device. It would have exclusive games and general apps on it, and then it was never released. Never saw the light of day. Looking at it now, we can safely assume that this was some sort of fun hoax made up by someone who runs a video game buy, sell, and trade store. If you ever do manage to visit this store, why don't you bring it up to Brian? Assuming that is who runs the store. Either way, Sega getting back into the console market is an interesting thought, but I only think that would hurt them financially. They're so reliant on being a third-party game developer that everyone is used to their games being on multiple platforms. So I don't think a lot of people would be willing to change and buy a whole separate console to play Sonic and their other IPs, old and new. Do you agree with me or do you disagree? Let me know in the comment section down below. KFC console. Oh my god. Does anyone remember this weird rumor? Teased in late 2020, this was supposed to be an official console made by the KFC brand, or more specifically, their gaming division? KFC Gaming? It sounds like a parody. Also known as the KF console, this thing was supposed to be a combined partnership with Cooler Master and was supposed to combine the power of a modern console and the capabilities of what they called a chicken chamber. Mods, as punishment, put this man in the chicken chamber. In all seriousness, this chamber, why is it a chamber? Anyway, would keep your meals warm while you game and would basically use the console's exhausted heat to do that. And then, guess what? It never released, and doesn't look like it ever will. Maybe I'll eat those words one day, but I don't know about you. The idea of this console seems, well, it seems pretty pointless to me because why would you want greasy food cooking in your console while you play a game? Something is bound to go wrong, and what are kitchens for anyway? Did you also think the same when word of this first spread? Now, to end the layer off, we have the entry Xbox 720 had a cameo in Real Steel. This 2011 film, based on the magazine of fantasy and science fiction short story Steel by Richard Matheson, is about robot boxing replacing human boxing, and the main character, an ex-boxer, trains a robot to greatness. In the fight between that robot, Adam, and another one, Zeus, advertisements are seen plastered around the boxing arena. Nothing really seems out of the ordinary, it's just some in-movie paid advertising, and then holy moly, the Xbox 720. This could imply a few things. Firstly, that Xbox wanted to troll people into believing that this would be their next console. Maybe they just wanted to show that they were in on the console rumor joke. Or they could have genuinely been developing the Xbox One with the 720 name in mind in secret, but eventually scrapped it. Either way, it seems that they wanted to get an onlooker's attention about their upcoming console in one way or another and have that word spread like wildfire. If we're going to start this layer anywhere, I think we need to start it at the creator of the infamous Xbox 720 video went on to work in Epic Games. If you don't know what Epic Games is, it's a place where games are epic. That's such a shit joke. If you don't know what Epic Games is, it's a company that makes video games, publishes video games, and develops software. In the description for the Future Gen video by Videogame AF, you know, the one we looked at during the start of the video, we see that Videogame AF gives us a small update on his life. It turns out he works for the Fortnite team at Epic Games. Well, more specifically, a senior producer who's been on the Fortnite item shop team for around 5 years now. So truly, he has lived up to be Videogame AF. Another name we looked at in a previous layer was Pablo Belmonte. He was the person responsible for the Nintendo On trailer, and let's look a little bit deeper into what he's done. Notably, he created a Nintendo On tech demo video that shows off just how powerful the system is, and as we see, he compares it to something like the Nintendo 64 by taking the castle overworld of Mario 64 and showing how many of them can fit on the Nintendo On. Or at least, that's what I think is happening here. The showcase, honestly, was pretty damn cool. He was also able to interview Reggie Fils-Aimé, who used to be Nintendo of America's president, and he asked him what he thought of the Nintendo On. Here's the clip.
One of the things I wanted to ask you about, if you don't mind, is I know I was excited. There was a crazy video that leaked, or I guess was released by a fan out there. You saw it, I take it.
I have seen it.
What did you think of that crazy thing?
I think whoever that fan is needs to call us because he's amazingly talented in terms of pulling together a video. It really looked great. You know what? That's one.
If it wasn't obvious, Reggie was not aware that he was talking to the creator of the Nintendo On, which makes for a pretty funny conversation. There's also this very infamous video game hoax Super Mario Galaxy DS video he made for a final project in his design studies class in design school. He needed to make a viral video and gain 500,000 views in a short amount of time, so he used material published by Nintendo to make all of his assets from scratch and made a low poly form of the game for the DS as a trailer. The video went viral and tricked a lot of people into believing that you could unlock Super Mario Galaxy for the DS after 100%ing it on the Wii, and this would require the use of the DS's download play function. This project got him a B+ of all things. B+ again! And helped him get his first job in the gaming industry. I can definitely see how people would believe this hoax. It looks pretty legit for the most part and makes me wish we really did get a DS version of Mario Galaxy. I really miss those downgraded version of games we used to get for the DS and Wii that couldn't play the full version that we'd get on another console like the Xbox 360 or the PS3. I think my favorite would have to be the Ratatouille games on the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, because man, when it got its DS port, oh my god, it's just so funny. Anyway, other than that, he looks to have worked on countless big name games, and he has some other videos and accolades you can look at on his YouTube channel and other websites that I'll have linked in the description if you want to look into them or at more of his great work. Apple Console. Also known as the Pippin, was developed by Apple. It was designed to be an open platform by licensing it to third parties, meaning that those companies would produce the consoles. There was also encouragement by Apple for those third parties to make some changes and upgrades to the systems to create competition between Pippins. Bandai tipped their toes in the water and manufactured Pippins. Long story short, they sold around 42,000 units in the US and Japan during their time on the market between 1996 to 1998. A Norwegian company, Cats Media, targeted the European market with their Pippin system, Cats Media Player 2000, which does look different to Bandai's one. The system was never properly sold on the retail market, but was sold to companies looking to use it for their means. Interestingly, in 1997, the NetFace Consortium in the Netherlands used the Cats player to allow people to visit what they claimed to be the world's first internet shopping mall. With 55,000 subscribers, they were all given a console to browse products from 23 companies. Other than that, there was this golden Bandai Pippin. Cool. And other than the Pippin, Apple has had rumors discussed on if it would release its own first-party console over the decades. Honestly, you can play games on an Apple TV, and I think that's where they're gonna leave it for now. PS6. Okay, guys, so, right, what if Sony made a new console and they called it the PlayStation 6 after the PlayStation 5? That would be nuts, right? In all seriousness, considering that the PlayStation 5 was released in 2020, it does seem like it's almost time for the next generation of consoles to start coming out. The PS5 was part of the 9th generation with the Xbox Series X and Series S. You could argue that the Nintendo Switch 1, maybe 2, and Steam Deck are also part of this gen as well. Anyway, that's not the point. Recently, there's been a lot of talk of the PS6 because we're nearing that next generation of consoles. And you know what? I'm really digging the fan-made concepts. Henry the Gamer on YouTube made a pretty cool reveal trailer for it, giving it a Hexatron look to it, kind of like an old Alienware desktop. I'll have that video linked in the description, but not only will the PS6 be more powerful than the PS5, obviously, but the big rumor is that it'll release in 2027 or 2028. Have or just straight up be a handheld device that can dock and undock and have backwards compatibility with the PS4 and PS5 games. Other than that, a lot of other information has been leaked, and if you want to learn about the alleged specs and potential pricing of the console, I'll have a video linked in the description by Moore's Law is Dead called PS6 Dockable Handheld Leak, AMD Canis Specs, Crush Xbox Ally X. And in case you don't know what an Xbox Ally X is, it's an Xbox handheld developed in partnership with the Republic of Gamers company. Oh boy, more handheld devices that look exactly the same. Speaking of, Steam Deck 2.
Hi, I'm Gabe Newell.
It's no secret that the Steam Deck was a very successful handheld console, and of course, that means that we'll be getting a Steam Deck 2. That part is confirmed, but what the Steam Deck 2 will have in store for us is up in the air. Just like with any successor, the system will be stronger than what came before it, and you'd hope that it takes what worked with the previous one and builds upon it. I don't have a Steam Deck, but from what I've seen and what I've been told by people that do have one, not every game is compatible with it, but it's pretty damn powerful, so I wonder just how much more the second will be. Back to Xbox now, we have Xbox Prime. This is the rumored true 10th gen console from Microsoft. You already know the basics on what to expect from a new console, but the big thing the console might be capable of is having multiple storefronts installed on the system like Steam and the Epic Games Store. So it might very well be set up a lot like a PC, which, why would you just not buy a computer then? It really begs the question on if anyone is even excited about something like this. But lastly, to wrap up this layer, we'll be looking at the entry Virtual Boy Pro VR. In 2024, a video was posted to the IGN YouTube channel showing off a Virtual Boy Pro VR attachment for the Nintendo Switch. It looks more like augmented reality, but the concept is really neat. Too bad it's an April Fool's Day hoax. Damn. All I've ever wanted is to get into a road rage incident with Luigi, but my dreams have been shattered. The video titled Virtual Boy Pro for Nintendo Switch announcement trailer IGN 2024 April Fools was very clever in its portrayal of what the attachment could do, but it seems a little ironic now considering that the September of 2025 Nintendo Direct revealed that the Virtual Boy is getting a re-release as an attachment for the Nintendo Switch 1 and 2. Who even asked for this? Who wanted this? For context, the Virtual Boy was one of the lowest selling Nintendo consoles of all time, and the only color it displayed was red. And if the initial asking price is too much, don't you worry, Nintendo has so graciously given everyone the option for an expensive piece of cardboard instead. Well, it's expensive in terms of cardboard, but it'll use the Virtual Console library afforded to people who have a Nintendo Online and Expansion Pack membership too. Wow, that's why? That's gonna be so expensive for just what, a modern remake of a retro console experience? Honestly, for people that really want to get into video games and have everything, I pray for your wallets, and the purchases that you need to make for this and so many other stuff, I just Let's start off the more obscure entries with consoles that were rumored/leaked before release. As time goes on, this seems to be more rampant. Rumors are one thing, but with how information can spread now, it seems easier than ever to leak information and spread whatever rumor you want. The next generation of consoles or the next console product from a company can be guessed pretty easily at this point. Regarding leaks, recently the Nintendo Switch 2 was leaked like crazy before it was officially revealed. The same can be said for the revisions to the 9th gen consoles like a PS5 Pro and digital-only Xbox Series X. This happens when insiders or sleuths find hardware, documents, data, etc. and post it online. Other than these console leaks, there's a whole lot more that are rumored and leaked as well, and it seems like a big part of the hype and excitement of what's next in the industry. So much so that even leaks are questioned on whether or not they were leaked by actual companies in question to drum up hype for their next console or product. Speaking of these leaks and rumors, gaming magazines. It seems that magazines host rumors more than any sort of leaks, since if they had officially released information, that's what they were gonna publish. Maybe there's some sort of legal hot water they're afraid to land themselves in if they post leaks. I'm no legal expert, but that seems entirely possible. A big example of a leak/rumor is found on the iceberg image itself as this PlayStation 3 concept, so we can tie in the entry PS3 rumors here too. This looks to be from the unofficial PlayStation Magazine. magazine, or PSM for short, as we can see in the top left corner. At the time, the internal hardware was known, but that's where we get into rumor and fan-made concepts. The magazine made their own mock-up shelf for the console, and it looks a lot like a Sega Genesis and Nintendo 64 mixed with a Blu-ray player. Looking at the release version of the console, we can see that PSM was, well, a bit off with their predictions, but it still looks great. Another unofficial magazine, Xbox World, released their final issue in 2012 with this sleek-looking rendition of what Xbox's next console would look like. And would you look at that, it even had the Xbox 720 name we've all seen.
Wow.
What a beautiful end to that magazine. And fun fact, PSM and Xbox World were owned by the same company. It makes me wonder if they helped to manufacture the console wars. You know, I really miss buying these magazines. Granted, I only ever got my mum to buy me K-Zone magazines as a kid, which was filled with pop culture, including video game related topics and articles. K-Zone, to my knowledge, doesn't have any subscriptions, but did any of you have subscriptions to these kinds of magazines? I also just love the way they would display information and graphics on their pages. Honestly, I'd consider them to be art pieces, and I wish we could bring them back to the main stage. But with how widespread the internet is, I don't think people would be willing to make them as much, or even subscribe to buying them as much as, say, a decade or so ago, or even more in the past than that. So maybe an official or unofficial reveal image for an upcoming console or game could be done in this style instead? I think it would be fantastic. Maybe I should use them as background images for future videos too, or maybe I've been using them in this video too. Sticking to the topic of PlayStation, we have to look at the PS3 Boomerang. This was a prototype controller for the upcoming PlayStation 3. The design? Beautiful. I love the look of Chrome technology so much, and the controller doesn't seem all that bad to use. And those glossy buttons really take me back to a different time. I say bring it all back, and someone on Reddit claims that the controller was reportedly comfortable to use, but people hated it at a glance. That's unfortunate because it's a really standout controller. Shifting back to Xbox, we have Scorpio Rumours. Scorpio was the codename given to the upgraded version of the Xbox One, and then a year later the Xbox One X was released. Although a special edition dubbed Project Scorpio Edition was apparently released as a day one bundle. The special edition console had a few scribblings of the edition on it, and came in a box meant to resemble the OG Xbox. Switch 1 patent leaks. I referenced a patent in the previous layer, but in case you don't know, a patent is a government authority or license conferring a right or title for a set period, especially the sole right to exclude others from making, using, or selling an invention. So that means that Nintendo had a bunch of patents ready to file for the Switch 1 and any future successor consoles or developments. I'll have a Source Gaming and IGN article with a bunch of unreleased patents and analyses of them in the description if you want to check them out too. But basically, there were a lot of ideas here that are quite neat and would expand on the ideas and experiences you can have with a Switch 1 or 2 console. Foldable controllers and a stylus for the Joy-Cons are the standouts for me here, but why patent this kind of stuff anyway? Money? Competition? Alright, yeah. Speaking of patents, fake Switch controller hoax. Look at this patent. Yeah, it looks pretty interesting, but now, look at this Nintendo Switch controller. Labeled as the Nintendo NX controller, it got its name from the official codename for the Switch 1, Nintendo NX, which sounds a lot like the rumored Nintendo Nexus console we talked about in a previous layer. While people were on the ball with the console being handheld, someone else went a step further. A post from the Reddit account Idris2Dev posted a video of the rumored Nintendo NX. What made it so believable was that it looked a lot like the patent I showed off just before. The user also shared that the device had haptic buttons and shoulder patterns that could be used like a mouse wheel to scroll. And as more photos emerged, people started to believe it more and more. But after people investigated the second set of images for clues, they found that the person didn't work for Nintendo, but rather a manufacturing shop specializing in laser cutting and engraving. Frank Sandvist, which I hope that's how you pronounce it, there's a Q there, so I don't think it's Sandqvist. Sandwich? Frank Sandwich, the co-founder of CNC Design. in Finland, claimed responsibility for the second set of photos and even posted a video on his YouTube channel showing the modeling, 3D printing, and putting together of the console. However, Sandwich wasn't the one that made the original fake. It was made by a man named David Im, who built a 3D model and threw it into Photoshop to fool everyone. Honestly, kudos to these guys, they did a great job and I'll have their videos linked in the description. They fooled so many people and they weren't even working together. Now, for the final entry of this layer, we have Nintendo 4DS. Rumours of a 4DS handheld console appeared after people looked into the patents Nintendo was filing. One of them was for a DS-like system with a touchscreen on the front of the foldable top screen, so the device would have 3 screens in total. That extra screen could be really cool as a sleep mode display for extra game features like a gyroscope, unique and fun games exclusive for a 3-screen system. The possibilities are all there, but what if they got literal with an actual 4th dimension? The 4th dimension can refer to time in relativity or a purely mathematical, non-spatial 4th dimension. In physics, time is considered to be that 4th dimension, and that's where we get the term space-time. It works perpendicular to all 3 spatial dimensions, and cannot be physically visualized but can be explored mathematically. And that's where we get a tesseract from, a 4D cube. I cannot wait to get my hands on this console so I can destroy the fabric of space and time. But in all seriousness, I'll have an article linked in the description about it, and by it, I mean the patent stuff and not the space-time shenanigans, on Retro Dodo by Anthony Wallace if you want to look into it more. Now, we're truly in the realm of obscurity. Let's start at Zunebox. Zune was a Microsoft-owned brand that existed from 2006 to 2012 and consisted of portable media players, Zune Music Pass and Zune Marketplace to stream music, TV, and movies on the Xbox 360. The brand was meant to challenge Apple and their iPods, which didn't seem to pan out, but there were rumors of a handheld device in collaboration with the Xbox 360 dubbed the Zunebox. It was supposed to be a mashup of the PSP, iPod Touch, and Sony Milo? What the hell is that? What? Now that thing looks awesome, but anyway, the device was rumored to play music, TV shows, and movies bought on the Xbox 360 and play Xbox Live arcade games. And then it never came out. I reckon that Microsoft would have made a Zune box of some kind, but with how Zune was failing against its competitor Apple's iPod, that idea would have been understandably scrapped. Sega Box. Searching up this term doesn't really give us too much to work with, but in the early to mid 2000s, there were rumors and talk here and there about Microsoft buying Sega. However, Microsoft and Sega do have a close relationship with one another, and what happened to Sega is starting to have some signs shown in current day Xbox. For context, Sega used to make consoles but stopped in 2001 after some poor business decisions and the resulting financial issues and loss. They just couldn't compete in the market, so they stopped and became a third-party publisher to varying successes. The Sega Dreamcast system runs on Windows 2, so there's that. And this epic gamer, Peter Moore, was the chief operating officer for Sega before moving to Microsoft as their vice president of retail sales and marketing. But maybe these rumors can sprout up again since Phil Spencer, the CEO of Microsoft Gaming, has been interested in buying Sega, and Microsoft looks to still be making Xbox consoles, but they're beginning to port more of their games to the PlayStation, with Gears of War being the most recent and plans for Halo. They look to be going down the same path of a third-party developer and publisher. I reckon it's a good theory and we can only really see how this goes as time goes on. But, you know, maybe Microsoft can team up with Sega and get back into the console game with the Sega Box. There's a pretty good video about it by Rocket Sloth called Xbox Hoaxes and Fakes That Fooled the World. It covers more than just the Sega Box, and I'll have that linked in the description. Xbox 2/Nextbox. This is why naming conventions are important. Xbox? Because this isn't referring to a rumored successor to the Xbox One, but the OG Xbox, with that successor being the Xbox 360. Who would have thought? Other names included the Xbox 24/7, Xbox 2, Xbox E, which ended up being used for the Xbox 360E, the last upgraded model of the console, Xbox EV, Xbox HD, Xbox NE, and of course, the Xbox 360. Holy moly, those are some names. Like, imagine if the console was called the Xbox 24/7. The successor name would have been rumored to be the Xbox 494 due to that naming convention, right? Or Xbox 24/7 2? Whoa, that's a lot of time in the week. And then, what, the Xbox 741 if, they stuck to that naming convention, which doesn't sound too bad? It kinda sounds like the name for a futuristic war machine. April Fool's hoaxes. These are exactly as the entry says. Console hoaxes have happened, but they're nowhere as popular as video game April Fool's Day hoaxes. But I was able to find a top 5 list from 99 Lives, and, well, I can't reach the site. But Ragster on DCEMUUK, the homebrew and gaming network, made a thread with the entries from that top 5 list. What an absolute legend, and the list goes as follows. The Sega Phoenix, Sony and Nintendo's PSP Boy, the Apple iGame, the Sega Hedgehog, and the Nintendo On. The thread has explanations of what the hoaxes were, and their stories are very similar to what we've already looked at all throughout the video, and you may recognize similar already talked about hoaxes. You can find other console hoaxes pretty easily, but unless you know what you're looking for or use specific keywords for it, it's gonna be pretty hard to find April Fool's stuff. Even when I was trying to find stuff for this entry, what you might be able to find is buried by pages and articles of non-April Fool's hoaxes and video game hoaxes. But they are there. I'll have that thread by Ragster linked in the description if you want to check it out. And Game Informer magazine had a section in its April issues with April Fool's hoaxes, which was cool. And with that being said, that brings us to the final entry in this video. Fucking Wii balls. This one is a big one to handle. It's quite a mouthful, so let's get into it. In April of 2007, Game Informer released issue 168 for their magazine, and on page 68, boom, Wii balls. Quote, moving a remote back and forth is fine, but sometimes you just need to wrap your hands around something meatier. This swinging peripheral introduces a new angle to your Wii experience, touch sensitivity. Thanks to sensors implanted in the globes, your games will detect whether you're squeezing the balls, twisting them, or cupping them gently in your hands. Upcoming titles currently slated to use this functionality include Locker Room Rumpus, Is It Ripe? And Mario Party Ball. If you reserve your pair early, you'll even get a bonus, a custom carrying sack that comes in 2 colors, flesh and blue. So pre-order soon, grab your sack, and get ready for action. Do you guys remember using these? I remember when I got these for Christmas and I turned on the family Nintendo Wii and fondled them all day. What? Okay, in case it wasn't very obvious, this was a hoax peripheral for the Wii console and it's pretty good as an April Fool's joke. The manufacturer is the Dangle Brothers and the website is www.hanglazy.com. When I typed the website into my script, it hyperlinked to the Did You Know Gaming YouTube channel. They're not owned by the same person, but maybe someone at Did You Know Gaming bought the domain? Maybe my document is wigging out? I'm not sure. But what I do know is that Did You Know Gaming covered this Game Informer hoax in their video Gaming's Funniest Hoaxes Explained, at 1 minute and 20 seconds into the video. I'll have that linked in the description if you want to check it out. Either way, what a way to end the video off. As the saying goes, all roads lead to Wii balls, but maybe, just maybe, it wasn't ever about the destination. Maybe it's about the Wii balls we fondled along the way. There was so much rich history on the wonder and creativity of rumors and hoaxes, so much so that you might need more than one Wii sack to contain the vast knowledge you've accumulated, lest they be stuck in your head, I swear to God. And isn't that the beauty of video games and consoles? There's so much to behold and wrap your head around, and really, you could say that about anything in life. Grab life by the wee balls, pursue true happiness and purpose before it's all nothing but a fleeting memory. And that's been the Game Console Rumor / Hoaxes Iceberg explained. Thanks for watching. What a ride that was, don't you think? When I first saw the iceberg chart, I thought things could be explained a lot more simpler, but there was a lot to these entries, a lot more than I ever thought there would have been, which is great. Hopefully it made for an entertaining video, and hopefully I did them all justice. So shoutouts again to TransQueen421 for making one hell of an iceberg chart, and I'll have that linked in the description with everything else looked at too. They even helped me out with some info on a few entries, which was nice. So like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts on the video down below. Let us all know what you thought of it and if you have any opinions. And as always, ho ho ho, we can't forget the shout out to my lovely patrons and YouTube members, and a big shout out to the highest tier Patreon members, Joel Matthew Colgrove, La Creatura, and Low Budget Detective 034. Shout outs to our highest YouTube member as well, Hammer Brother 13. Thank you all for your continued contributions, and thank you to everyone else too. You guys are absolute legends. Stay tuned for more videos like this. Relevant links will be in the description if you want to further look into them, and I'll catch ya in the next one.